I'm about to go into the office and spend the day working on essays with my second year commercial photography students. It's not the job I thought I would have after leaving Newport, but it's one that I'm very happy I've got, and certainly I think it's one that's informed by the Newport experience. I did the very last Doc Phot, the HND, in 92 to 94, and something during that time must have made me realise that I wasn't cut out to be, and was never likely to be, a sort of jobbing photojournalist, documentary photographer, because I decided I would go back and secure the first ever degree that Newport offered, realising that I would need that in order to get a job outside of photography. And indeed that's how things have worked out. After a period of time working in community arts, working as an education officer in an arts centre, I've wound up in kind of higher education. But Newport gave me a way of thinking about photography, which I think is a distinctly Newport way of going about things. That sort of rigour that's required of you to understand and to know your subject as well as you do your medium is something that's really quite important, and something I still talk about with my students, even though they are working on fashion projects or they're working on still life advertising work, all of which are kind of images we might kind of characterise as being more about appearance. But for me there's a kind of rigour about knowing the subject that's important. There's also that relationship between how you photograph, so your stylistic choices and your subject, so that these things turn you into an eloquent practitioner. I think for me, one of the key experiences, I think back, actually is the need for and the understanding of the critical side, which I don't think I was particularly good at in Newport, but ironically is what I've actually wound up doing. And even though we had some great lectures from Ian and Susan, I never really got to grips with it and never really understood it until quite a lot later. And I think that therefore means, when I sort of reflect on my time at Newport, that I realise that those lessons that I learned were ones that have stayed with me, and they're ones that I probably get more from now than I did at the time, which is possibly no bad thing, but it means that I can keep those ideas fresh in my mind. And I'm very grateful for the time that I spent working with Jeff and with Sue and with Clive and with Daniel, who instilled in me and my colleagues an idea about how to go about making pictures. And I think one of the things I would look back on and say was important for me was the idea about trusting your own instincts and being prepared to persevere with projects, even though at first instance they might not have been too successful, or they might not have appeared to have been successful. And that's something, again, I work with my students, is not to fall at that first hurdle even though images aren't coming out the way you want them to. It's worth your while pressing on and seeing how things go. And in fact, some of my sort of favourite projects have come about as a result of this sort of doggedness. Certainly one of the images that I've included in the kind of Newport 100 Years exhibition came from that period. So I'm very grateful for the experience that Newport gave me, the education that Newport gave me, and certainly for the life it set me up for, albeit not the one that I thought I was going to have.